Imagine
52
that.
feet. Low tide, and then...
Hey everybody, welcome
Hello.
to Britpops React. You're with me, BP1 and BP2.
Hello
We
there.
are two British reactors reacting to all sorts around the world, so make sure you join us, hit the subscribe button.
Please do.
And we appreciate a thumbs up on the video. Geography oddities and interesting facts in America, my friend.
Geography oddities. All right. Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds interesting.
Something's a bit weird.
Who is this young man here?
This is the Geography King.
Oh, hello. Nothing
apparently.
like putting yourself right. Was he voted the Geography King? Was he?
Yeah, who cares?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, whatever.
All right.
Let's check him out and his facts and oddities about the US. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Howdy, it's Kyle with another installment of Oddities
Kyle.
of Geography and Interesting Facts. This is part 4 in the series, and I will leave links to the other 3 in the description, one of
Okay.
which will be up here. And the whole point of this series is to take a look at interesting facts and quirks and oddities about geography that might not be very well known. So let's take a look at interesting facts about geography, part
Got
4.
4 of them.
I want to start by talking about cities that have an out-of-place skyscraper.
Oh,
I'll start off with the city of McAllen, Texas, which sits right along the Rio Grande.
How
and the
flat
Mexican
is that?
I
The
know.
population of the city is about 142,000 people, and based on the topography and the fact
Look
that the
how low it is,
population
though.
density
Yeah.
is pretty low, there isn't much need for any high-rises there. However, there is one that really stands out.
Is it a
Another
hotel?
city with an incongruous skyscraper is Oklahoma City.
Chase.
It's a fairly large city with about 681,000 people in the city
Okay,
and about
that's a lot.
1.5 million in the metro area. So there is a decent skyline downtown with some nice buildings, but one really sticks out. At 844
okay.
feet, it's 344 feet taller than the second tallest building in the city, or 105 meters taller. That's quite a big difference between the tallest and second tallest building in the city, and it really makes the Devon Tower stand out.
I
But
couldn't
you
believe
can't
how
talk about
flat it was in
out-of-place
Texas.
buildings without talking about the worst offender, the Ryogyeon Hotel in Pyongyang, North Korea.
Oh, yes.
It's nicknamed
Korea,
the
isn't it?
Hotel of Doom,
Korea.
and it's the largest
Yeah.
building in the world that is abandoned.
It's
This
abandoned,
building is
yeah, they haven't even finished
105
it.
stories tall,
What?
1,080 feet or 330 meters. It's been under construction for 35 years and still hasn't opened up.
They do
It's
a brick a
supposedly
year.
going to be a combination of a luxury hotel, condos, and office space.
Where was it again?
Korea.
Right.
Pyongyang.
It looks like a bloody spaceship's landed.
Yeah, well, you know, North Korea, isn't it, mate? But then they decided that tourism wasn't on the up for some reason.
I wonder why.
However, I wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah.
Next, I want to go back to Oklahoma, this time to
Right.
Tulsa and the campus
That's a
of
bit
Oral
far,
Roberts
isn't it?
University. This is a private Christian university that has some pretty interesting architecture on campus,
Yeah,
including a fairly tall
university.
skyscraper, which looks even more out of place
Wow,
because the
that
campus
does
is
look out of
several
place.
miles from downtown. Although the tower
Oh,
was
it's quite
originally
ugly.
created as a faith-healing hospital, it didn't succeed in that, and it's since been turned into office space. But even
Okay,
though that one
yeah.
big skyscraper stands
The
out,
golf
there's
ball
some
over
really
your
strange
shoulder.
architecture in some of the smaller buildings on the campus. Next, I want to talk about the distribution of the highest elevations in the U.S. The
Oh.
tallest peak in the U.S. is Denali in Alaska, which stands at 20,310 feet. And
Ooh.
each of the top 10 highest peaks in the U.S. are in Alaska. And in fact, it has 6 peaks over 16,000 feet. There are also
Okay.
14 over 14,000, 10 over 13,000,
Wow.
19 over 12,000, and 11 over 11,000. Now look at
Didn't know
Colorado.
that.
The
That's
highest
pretty good
peak
going,
is
isn't it?
Mount Elbert, which stands at only 14,440 feet. However, Colorado has 25 peaks over 14,000, 33 over 13,000, 29 over 12,000,
Colorado.
and 22 over 11,000. So
Whoa.
Alaska has the highest peaks in the U.S. by a wide margin, but there really aren't a large number of those
them,
high
yeah.
peaks.
Yeah, yeah.
And then once you get below 15,000 feet, then Colorado really takes over as the state with the most high peaks.
Yeah,
And
that's
as a side note,
lot.
these are 2 of my favorite state flags in the country.
I would never
State
have guessed
flag.
that if you'd asked me. I would have said Alaska, end of.
And Colorado. Yeah.
But I guess I just don't know enough about Colorado.
Well, that's the state flag for Alaska up above your head, and the state flag for Colorado.
Yeah.
It's like the Chicago Bears.
I'm
All
gonna
right,
use-
interesting.
Yeah.
Colorado and its elevations as a segue into this next interesting fact. The lowest elevation in Colorado is 3,317
Lowest.
feet, or just over 1,000 meters. And this is in the high plains of eastern Colorado along the Kansas border. When most people think of Colorado, they're going to think of the mountains, but the eastern third of the state is high plains. But even though the terrain is relatively flat, the elevation...
So it's still 3,800 feet above sea level.
Yeah.
And it's flat.
And it's flat. I just had a quick shufty there. So, our renowned one, Ben Nevis, is 4,000 feet. 4,400.
Wow, nothing, is it, compared to some of those?
Little blip.
Yeah. It's a little knob.
That's a hill walk.
are fairly high. Now take a look at this map. The states highlighted in purple have a highest point that is lower than the lowest point in Colorado.
Oh, wow.
There are 18 of these states, and most of them are in the Midwest or along the Gulf Coast. So Colorado has the largest number of peaks over 10,000 feet, and it also has the highest flat spot. And
what's going on underneath Colorado then? You know, you've got the old, the pin thing.
Plates,
it's got to be something that's right up, in the middle.
Put the hand on it and just raise everything up.
There's Colorado and everywhere else.
So obviously something interesting was going on when that was being formed, wasn't it? For it to have the highest elevations and the highest low lying. So
well, to be its lowest point is higher than any of the east side. I mean, and we saw that in the last one, actually. I didn't realise just how much the west was so much higher than the east. It's like a little slide.
Yes. Okay.
You can just barely hear John Denver singing in the background. Rocky Mountain High, Colorado. Okay. Next, I want to talk about the longest known cave systems in the world. The longest cave in the world is Mammoth Cave in Kentucky, which is part of Mammoth Cave National Park. There are approximately 420 miles or 676 kilometers of passage in this cave. And it's not just one long passage. It's an interconnected web of passages that adds up to 420 miles. And the U.S. is home to 5 of the 10 longest caves in the world. The third longest cave in the world is Jewel Cave in South Dakota, with 209 miles or 336 kilometers of passage. Just down the road from Jewel Cave in South Dakota is Wind Cave, the 7th longest cave in the world. It's known to have 162 miles or 260 kilometers of passage, and both Jewel Cave and Wind Cave are protected areas under the National Park Service.
I'm sorry, I'm amazed. I'm amazed because, these distances in the UK, I mean, we're 150 miles apart, right? You and me?
Yep.
And that's a long way in the car. That's a good, 3
hours, isn't it? Yeah.
In a car.
Yeah. In a car.
So
doing that underground.
Doing that in a cave system, that's pretty mad, isn't it, to think about? That sort of distance.
All underground, all mapped out, so... mind-blowing.
It is, it's mind-blowing.
The 8th longest cave in the world is Lechuguilla Cave in New Mexico. This is located very near Carlsbad Caverns and is in Carlsbad Caverns National Park. It's known to have about 151 miles or 242 kilometers of passage.
It's like a
painting. Even though it's located in a national park, access to it is very restricted. You have to be part of a scientific expedition or be legitimate cave explorers to be granted access, and even then you might not get it. And the 5th of the top 10 caves in the world that are in the U.S. is Fisher Ridge Cave in Kentucky, which is the 10th longest cave in the world. It's known to have 132 miles or 212 kilometers of passage. The 2nd and 4th longest caves in the world are both located in the Mexican state of Quintana Roo, which is where Tulum and Cancun are. So with that, 6 of the 10 longest caves in the world are in either the U.S. or Mexico.
Cave diving.
However, big asterisk on this because there are undoubtedly a lot of cave passages unexplored, especially in Asia. So there's a decent chance there are other caves in the world that would be on this list, although it's very unlikely any of them are longer than Mammoth.
Wow.
The next interesting fact is about the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. There are over 241 million people in just this one state, which makes it the most populous subnational jurisdiction in the world. So whether state, province, or territory, this is the most populous one. And there are only 4 countries in the world with a larger population: China, the US, Indonesia, and India itself. And it really isn't that large. It's about the size of the US state of Oregon or the UK.
Now
To put it in perspective,
that is a nightmare commute to work, isn't it?
He said it's the UK. So that's 240 million people in the size of the UK.
Yeah.
Right, and we're getting tight as arse now, and we're only, 70 million?
Yeah. You can't move, can we, out there?
Well, so just the thought of having that, another 3 times? Holy shimoly.
You'd think you'd sort of move, wouldn't you? I mean, really?
Wow. Look at that. I mean, that's ridiculous, isn't it?
This guy here, where's he going up here, look, in the middle?
I mean, come on. What sort of system's that?
Whose right away is it? I mean...
The UK has about 67 million and Oregon just over 4 million. So I've overlaid Oregon and the UK in the part of the country where Uttar Pradesh is. Imagine 241 million, 250 million people in your state.
I can't.
A lot of people look for solitude, but if you're looking for the exact opposite, check out Lucknow, the capital of Uttar Pradesh.
Nope.
So now we'll go from the most populous state on Earth to a very lightly populated part of the US. Montana and South Dakota share a border, and why it's unique is because it's the only border in the country where the only direct state-to-state route on a road is a dirt road. I have to zoom in 3 levels on this map before this road even shows up. And this dirt road connects Carter County, Montana with about 1,400 people to Hardin County, South Dakota with about 1,300 people.
West.
The town right near the state line is called Camp Crook with about 65 people. So not many folks living in this area, not much need for a big paved highway to connect these 2 states.
Wow.
Next, I want to talk about the concept of a city-state.
65
and it is exactly what it says, a country that is basically just one city. The 3 that people think of most when they think of city-states are Singapore, Monaco, and Vatican City. However, I want you to mention another one in this category, Kuwait. And the reason why Kuwait is often left off this list of city-states is because it really isn't that small. It's about the size of the U.S. state of New Jersey or the European country Slovenia. So I've overlaid New Jersey in peach and Slovenia in light blue. And that small yellow area in Kuwait would be Singapore. The country of Kuwait has about 4.7 million people, but almost all of them live in the capital Kuwait City or its suburbs. So as you can see, only 3 small towns in this country outside of the main metro. And most of that empty space is just open desert. So even though the area of Kuwait is much larger than its urban area, it still effectively is a city-state.
Right.
Next, I want to talk about the Bay of Fundy, which is a bay between the Canadian provinces of New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, and the western end of the bay hits the eastern point of the U.S. state of Maine. And the reason why this place is odd is that it has the highest range of tides on Earth. Average tidal range on the planet is about 3 feet or 1 meter, but the Bay of Fundy is 52 feet or 16 meters in terms of its tidal range.
52 feet?
So that's a huge difference between high and low tide, which leaves a really interesting situation for docking boats.
Yeah, imagine
52
that.
feet. Low tide, and then... What?
I'm just going to get an elevator down to fucking see. Yeah, that is weird, isn't it?
52 feet. I mean, how quick does that come in then? Because that's a lot of water to go from there.
It's like filling your bath up. Isn't it? Coming up quite quick.
How big's your bath?
Well, no, I'm just saying
52
in
feet,
scale.
yeah.
You know, you imagine it coming up quite high. You know, yeah. That's weird.
Okay. 50, I mean, like I say, from the normal, 1 foot to 52 foot, that's a massive difference.
That's like filling up the old canal locks.
Don't want to, you don't want to get your tide times wrong, do you?
Cool, no.
And perhaps the most staggering fact about the Bay of Fundy is that over a 12-hour tide cycle, more water flows in and out of the bay than twice the combined water flow of every river in the world over that same 12-hour period. So with the combination of that big tidal flow and the seafloor geology or bathymetry leads to whirlpools, and the largest whirlpool in the Western Hemisphere is in the Bay of Fundy. It's called the Old Sow Whirlpool. Now, wouldn't you like to try to swim through this bad boy?
No
And
thanks.
because much of the Bay of Fundy goes right up to the coast of Nova Scotia, that means there can only be one person responsible for this huge range of tides. My girl,
huge.
Sarah McLaughlin. Sarah and I have a complicated history, but we all know how she really feels about me. So that was part
all right,
4
mate.
of Oddities of Geography and Interesting Facts. I posted videos in this series.
That's totally random.
Yeah.
And there you go. All right.
Okay, yeah,
That's
a
some good ones.
lot of interesting facts and figures there. I mean, like I say, no idea about the Canadian tidal cycle
No.
there, and 50. Yeah, mind blowing. But don't think
Well-
we're going to be moving to India anytime soon, mate.
No thanks. No.
Oh no,
No.
bit too many people for my liking there.
And yeah, I mean, it's just weird.
Well
isn't it?
done, sir. Nicely done. A lot of good research in there. So,
Yeah, good facts,
lots of
good
good stuff.
pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enjoyed that. It was by the Geography King. Nice job. All right.
Thank you.
Good stuff. We'll be back tomorrow for another reaction. Thanks for coming along and watching us at Britpops React. Until then, it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from him over there. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.